Facebook, Make It Plain, because we have a very special guest in studio who is launching a new show here on Sirius XM, on Comedy Central Radio, Sirius XM 95, and she joins us in studio right now. And I love the name of the show. We call ourselves Get Woke around here.
Yeah.
So the name of her show is You Up.
You Up.
Nikk Glaser's with us. Welcome, Nikki.
Thank you so much for having me. Thanks for having me.
So tell us all about the show.
So it is just going to be kind of my brand of comedy. I'm a comedian. I've been doing it for 13 plus years, and I just talk openly about my personal life. We're going to be talking sex, dating, and pop culture. So
that's a little bit of a different conversation nowadays than it has been in recent years, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. There's different rules now, and people are a little bit freaked out. But I think that I want to lead the conversation from here on out, and kind of.
Good.
Well,
a woman ought to lead it, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's important. I had a show on Comedy Central about sex and dating before all of this broke. And it would have been nice if they had kept me around, but then they threw me a radio show. So based on how my trajectory, next year I'll be running their Twitter account.
So you were on television?
Yes. I had a show called Not Safe with Nikk Glaser on Comedy Central. And it was all about opening the discussion about sex and dating. And then they canceled it.
Why?
They get some bad research. They do focus groups in Las Vegas where they pull people off the strip who have lost money, and then they go, "Hey, will you watch this? Will you watch this show and tell us what you think?" And they go, "I don't like her because of her hair," or they go, the big note was that we did a lot of pieces where I talked openly and brazenly about sex, and the big thing is like shareability, and people were like, I don't want to share this on my Facebook page where my aunt is following me. So I think that was the takeaway. So, it went away, but we did some really cool stuff on there, and I hope to continue doing that, and putting my voice out there. So
what is the approach, though, when it comes to sex and dating in this climate and comedy? How do you deal with that? And, without, because people are even more sensitive.
Yes.
Now.
I think guys are kind of getting on the defense, like saying, I can't even say you look pretty anymore. And it's like, maybe take a break from that. You don't need to tell us every second. But I think it's going to go, like
no point stating the obvious, right? That's what I tell myself. I mean, that's what it is.
I love hearing I look pretty, and I love compliments. But it's fine. I'll go a little bit of time without them just so we find a balance again. I think with anything like this, we have to go the other way a little bit, and then we'll get back to where we were. It is interesting because Neil Brennan, a friend of mine, has a great joke about how every first kiss is just a sexual assault gone right. Because you got to move in for it, and the girl is either yeah or no. And I think my kind of advice to guys is try once. And if it doesn't go well, then don't try again. I think it's the repeated thing of after they hear no, that they keep going back in. But, I'm a girl who likes to be thrown up against a wall and, I like a little aggression with sex if it's obviously consensual. And that's where it gets blurry because guys are like, well, I don't want to take that chance. And I go, well, then I'll tell you to throw me up against a wall. How about that?
Okay.
So I think that's the future. Yeah.
But what about in terms of comedy? Because I know sometimes people can tell jokes and do things in comedy that themselves. I still don't think everybody has learned how to navigate those waters.
Yeah.
Because everything ain't funny no more.
Yeah.
Stuff that used to be funny isn't funny anymore.
That's so true, and I think we have to persevere and just keep doing, as comedians, what we think is funny or what we think is honest. And I think that honesty and truth will prevail. And people can get offended, and that's fine. And I welcome that because that means you're doing something right. But, I think comedy is not for the sensitive. And if you're going to be sensitive, I don't want safe comedy. And And maybe we're in a time right now where everyone's a little bit tiptoeing, but I think comedy right now is more exciting than ever, especially from women. I'm hearing a lot of women talk about the Me Too movement, and especially talk about comedians by name who have been outed. And that's just a bizarre thing to see female comics name other comedians, because usually we don't talk about each other in each other's acts. But now it's like these guys are headlines, and so you can't avoid it. And we've known about this stuff for as long as we've been doing comedy, because the rumors have been around way longer than before the truth came out. So it is. I feel like it's a fun moment right now to be a female comic.
Have you, Nikk Glaser, with us, folks, talking about her new show, You Up? I love that title, the name of that show. Have you yourself, Nikki, ever been a victim? Yeah. I mean, I have a joke about it right now that I'm kind of talking about, where I say, I had a weird thing happen with someone who I trusted and who was, my superior, and I was working with him on the road, and he did something really weird. And but I don't feel comfortable coming out and talking about it, because I haven't found 7 other women that he's done the same thing to. And I think that now in this day and age, you have to have enough women to start a softball team that this guy has also done that thing to. And the thing he did, where it's like, my problem with it is like, I still know this person. I still talk to this person, much like most victims. You look at the Harvey Weinsteins and the Charlie Roses and the Matt Lauers, like especially like Harvey Weinstein, like you interact with these guys that have done these weird things, because when they do these weird things, it is in a hotel room or it's somewhere outside of work, and then you see them in your workplace and you have to act like everything's fine, and they almost act like everything's fine, and you go, wait, did that even happen? So it messes with your perception. And so for me to come out and name names, it's just, for me, not worth it, because I don't have anyone else who's backing me up, being like, he did this to me too. And it's more work than it would be more strife for me than to continue just keeping it secret. Well, and that's you and your experience, and you're a known person. So imagine what everyday women who aren't known and who don't have platforms, what they go through. And so they're accounts and accounts of stories that we'll never hear.
Oh, I know.
Because women, don't do and talk themselves out of it or whatever. And even in your position, I mean, I think you're right, which you haven't said, but which I think is also apparent, is that because you may not have a whole group of people who've had that experience, then you expose yourself to attack.
Yes,
well, who's
that
Nikki?
I can make it up. It's my word against his.
Right.
And you're right. And I do feel some kind of accountability for women, that I do have a platform. I should speak up. I should name names. And I've been so grateful to the women who have been brave enough to do so. But it's just, to me, I'm not ready to do that yet. And I am.
And that's your own agency. You can decide when you're ready or not.
I feel like it's not, you suddenly, as a victim, you become almost guilty if you don't come out and say something about it. Like there's a lot of victim blaming and victim shame that is associated with it. And I'm going to choose to do what I want with my story, but what I am choosing to do with it is talk about the fact that I don't want to come out about it. And I think a lot of women can relate to that experience.
Yeah, that's your choice. Nikk Glaser with us, folks, 7 minutes before the hour. So speaking of male comedians, and you talked a little bit earlier about some of the gray areas for some of us guys. What do you think about Aziz Ansari? Because that's kind of challenged the narrative nowadays, because it is a little bit grayer.
That was an unfortunate piece of journalism, just because there were some parts of it that made it seem like she was complaining about the choice of wine, and that he didn't pay attention, that she didn't like white wine or whatever it was. There were some things that I was just like, we didn't need to know that. But I appreciated that piece, because I think, although it sucks for Aziz, because I think that he didn't know necessarily that he was doing anything wrong. I think he has here's the problem. I think it is. I think there are men with bad social skills who already don't read women well or read other people well.
Right.
A little spectrumy is what some of us refer to it as. People that are, brilliant comedians are a lot of times a little bit have social. They can't.
I've
they
never
cannot,
heard spectrumy, y'all.
I don't want to say he's autistic, but there's things about him that lead him to become a comedic genius.
I got to use it. Can I borrow it?
Spectrumy is for you. And we can share that one for sure. But I think that when you mix someone who is already bad at reading social cues from other people and who doesn't care about what other people's feelings are, who lacks empathy, combine horniness with that, and you get someone that is a zombie. Like there's no reasoning with them. And that's not to excuse his behavior, but I don't think that he had any malintent to hurt this girl, and that I do think he was horrified when he found out what happened. Yeah. But I think it's just like mixing social awkwardness with horniness. You get a monster. You just get a guy who's not going to check in with you. I have been, every woman who read that, and that has been already talked about a ton, had a similar experience where you're hooking up with someone and you go, why am I doing this? And it's just because obligation, and it's our responsibility to speak up too, and we're growing. That's what we're learning from this, is that we need to speak up as well.
Spectrumy, y'all.
Spectrumy.
You Up Monday through Thursdays, 10 a.m. to noon, and on demand, Comedy Central Radio, Sirius XM 95. Nikki, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
We look forward to listening to the show. If all minds are clear, it has been made plain.
Is we give each other